Welcome back. Even as a federal judge temporarily pauses President Trump's order to freeze federal funding assistance, the State Department's already taken sweeping measures to halt foreign aid. The directive says that the State Department and U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, must stop all spending while the new administration carries out a review. The notable exceptions were emergency food programs as well as aid for Egypt and Israel. Jeremy Konyndyk, who is the president of Refugees International, is here now. He formerly served as an official at USAID, which I know, by the way, has taken quite a hit in the last few days as we hear that current officials are being escorted out of the building or reassigned. They're taking down any visual demonstration of the work that's been done. It's a really distressing time for a lot of people in this space.
It's an incredibly distressing time. It's a frightening time. And many organizations are very fearful to speak out and talk about what's going on. I'm able to do so because our organization, Refugees International, does not take federal funding. Otherwise, we would be in a similar spot.
And which global U.S. programs are you most concerned about being disrupted at this point?
So a few things that I would point to are the programs that right now, in real time, are ways that America is saving lives around the world, and that is our global health programs and our humanitarian programs. So every day at U.S.-funded HIV clinics around the world, more than 200,000 people go and they pick up their antiretrovirals to keep their HIV infections suppressed. That has stopped. People are turning up to those clinics. They cannot get their drugs. Humanitarian programs are pulling out of refugee camps, pulling out of the famine zones in Sudan. That will very quickly begin to kill people.
I mean, it's within a president's right to review everything, but when you hear that real world effect, that there are people showing up looking for the help that's been there and realizing it's not, you got to wonder what kind of an effect that has. And you've been quoted calling this action to limit foreign aid a, quote, win for China. Why is it a win for China?
So foreign aid is one of the principal ways that America shows up in the world and that we show American values to the world. And so when we are providing HIV drugs, when we are saving lives in refugee crises, we are showing up in the world in a way that shows an American spirit of generosity. This shows the opposite. And it also, in addition to just making us look cruel and callous, it makes us look deeply unreliable. 5 million people in South Africa depend on this funding for their ARV treatment. Where are they going to go for that? So China can now go to a lot of these countries, and I'm sure that this is already happening in Chinese embassies around the world, and say, look, who is the more reliable partner?
There is also acute concern for Afghans who helped U.S. forces in that country during the war.
Yes.
Are there other groups of refugees around the world that are potentially affected by this freeze in funding?
Yes. All refugee resettlement has been halted, including even services to support new arrivals who have come in the last few weeks prior to President Trump taking office. So that means, whether it's Afghans or people from South Sudan or wherever, if they have come here in the last few weeks, they now have no support. The services that would normally welcome them are mandated to be halted. It's also separating families. We've heard stories of families, one family, a woman who was a South Sudanese refugee. There was an administrative issue with some of her paperwork when her family traveled in early January. She had to stay behind. She's now stranded in a refugee camp with no family around to protect her while her family is here heartsick.
And they got to hope that the kindness of strangers then makes up the void if they're here and they're not getting that program relief that they were expecting.
And, there will be community support. A lot of the church groups and faith-based organizations that welcome them here will be doing what they can, but they'll be doing that without access to the federal funding that normally supports those programs.
Have you had any interaction with a Trump administration official about the real-world effects that this is having?
We have been talking to a lot of members of Congress. There are very few people at home in the administration right now to even talk to.
Right, which is a real problem. Jeremy Konyndyk, thank you for coming in with Refugees International. We're going to talk to you again about this because obviously it's a big issue, not just here at home, but around the world. And I know you guys are closely tracking the potential fallout, so we appreciate it.
My pleasure.